The Chronologue. Blade Runner's Rick Deckard. Synthetic bourbon and electric dreams. Rain falls in sheets across the neon-drenched sprawl of Los Angeles, November 2019. The kind of rain that never stops, carrying with it the weight of a world slowly drowning itself. In a dimly lit corner of the White Dragon Noodle Bar, steam rises from bowls of synthetic ramen, while holographic advertisements flicker against rain-streaked windows. The air tastes of ozone and disappointment. It's here, in this pocket of perpetual twilight, that our host, Jude Meridian, materializes, not with fanfare or flash, but with the quiet displacement of someone who doesn't quite belong in any time or place. He's soaked instantly, his modern jacket clinging to his frame as he stumbles through the entrance, nearly colliding with a man in a worn trench coat hunched over a steaming bowl. The man looks up with eyes that have seen too much. This is Rick Deckard, Blade Runner, and tonight he's about to have a conversation that will challenge everything he thinks he knows about humanity, memory, and what it means to be real.
Sorry. Christ, it's like stepping into a waterfall out there. Mind if I... Jesus, does it ever stop raining in this place?
No. And keep shaking that thing somewhere else, you're getting water in my food.
Right, sorry. I'm Jude, by the way. Jude Meridian.
Deckard, and I didn't ask him.
Fair enough. Whatever he's having, I'll take one. So 2019, huh? Gotta say, looks different than I remembered.
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, nothing. Just, you know how you have expectations about things, and then reality hits you like a brick to the face?
Where you from, Meridian? You don't sound local.
That's complicated. Let's just say I'm between places right now. This is synthetic, right? The protein?
Everything's synthetic. Meat, fish, probably half the vegetables. Welcome to the future.
The future. That's rich. So tell me, Rick, can I call you Rick? What do you do for work in this brave new world?
I'm retired.
Retired? You don't look old enough to be retired. What did you do before?
Police work.
What kind of police work? Vice, homicide, traffic?
Look, Meridian, it's been real, but I've got places to be.
Hold on. 2 whiskeys over here. Real ones if you've got them. Come on, Rick. When's the last time you had a real conversation with someone who wasn't trying to kill you or give you marching orders?
What makes you think people are trying to kill me?
Lucky guess. You've got that look, like you're always checking exits, always expecting the worst. I've seen it before.
You're observant. That's dangerous. And
Not dangerous, just curious. To surviving another day in paradise.
paradise, right.
So what's the deal with the off-world colonies? Everyone seems pretty eager to get out of here. Can't imagine why.
You want the sales pitch or the truth?
Always the truth. Lies are boring.
The colonies are supposed to be humanity's fresh start. Clean air, open skies, opportunity. What they don't tell you is it's hard work, dangerous, and most people who go up there, they don't come back.
Because they love it so much or because they can't?
Both, neither. Does it matter?
Everything matters, Rick. That's the thing about being human. We make meaning out of meaninglessness. Speaking of which, what exactly did you do as a cop? You said you're retired, but retired from what?
I was a Blade Runner to...
Blade Runner. Sounds efficient. But what is it you actually do? Is it just a job, or does it ever feel personal?
We retire replicants and skin jobs, the ones that go rogue.
Retire. That's a nice euphemism. You mean kill them.
They're not alive, not in the way that matters.
How do you figure that? I mean, what's the difference between artificial intelligence that thinks it's alive and, well, us? If I created a perfect simulation of consciousness, down to the last neuron, would it be less real than the original?
They're programmed, built, they don't have soul.
Souls? Rick, come on. You really believe in souls? What does that even mean in practical terms?
It means they're not human. They're property.
Property that thinks, feels, suffers, loves, fears death. That's some pretty sophisticated property. Tell me about the test, the Voight-Kampff test. How does that work?
We measure emotional responses, pupil dilation, blush response, breathing patterns. Replicants can't generate the proper empathetic reactions to certain scenarios.
That's fascinating. It's like a very intense first date, isn't it? All that measuring and analyzing, but here's what I don't get. How accurate is it really? Ever get it wrong?
The test is reliable.
That's not what I asked. I asked if you ever got it wrong. I'll take that as a yes. You know, in my time, we've got people who are absolutely convinced they can spot psychopaths, sociopaths, liars, whatever, just by looking at them. They're wrong most of the time. Human intuition is terrible at detecting deception.
Your time.
Figure of speech. Point is, if someone can fake empathy well enough to fool most people most of the time, what's the difference between fake empathy and real empathy from a practical standpoint?
The difference is authenticity.
But what if they don't know they're faking it? What if they genuinely believe their emotions are real?
They're not real because they're not born. They're made. Their memories are implants. Their entire identity is artificial.
So if I had false memories implanted in my brain tomorrow, but I still felt the same emotions attached to those memories, would I stop being human?
That's different.
How?
Because you'd still have your original memories underneath.
What if I didn't? What if the implants completely overrode everything I used to be? At what point do I stop being me and start being someone else?
I need another drink, a real one.
Deckard moves to the bar, his movements tense. The question has clearly struck a nerve. Jude watches him carefully, recognizing the signs of a man wrestling with truths he'd rather not confront.
Make that 2. Real drinks for fake people in a synthetic world. There's poetry in that somewhere.
This is Johnny Walker, at least that's what they tell me.
Not bad. Probably better than most of the real whiskey I've had. You know what's funny? You're worried about what's real and what's fake, but you're drinking synthetic whiskey in a synthetic world, probably eating synthetic food, breathing synthetic air.
What's your point?
My point is that maybe authenticity is overrated. Maybe what matters is not where something comes from, but how it makes you feel. Tell me about Rachel.
How do you know that name?
Word gets around. Small world, smaller community of people dealing with complicated relationships. She's special, isn't she? Complicated but special.
What do you know about her?
I know you care about her. I know it complicates everything you thought you knew about replicants. And I know it scares the hell out of you.
She doesn't know what she is.
Do any of us, really know what we are?
She has memories of a childhood that never happened. A family that never existed. A whole life that's just programming.
But she feels love, right? She feels fear, joy, sadness. When she touches you, when she looks at you, does it feel artificial?
No.
Then what's the problem?
The problem is that she's not supposed to exist. She's an illegal model. And my job, my former job, was to retire things like her.
Things like her. You still think of her as a thing?
I don't know what to think anymore.
That's progress, Rick. Uncertain why is the beginning of wisdom. The moment you start questioning everything you thought you knew, that's when you start actually learning.
Learning what?
That the world is more complicated than the categories we use to organize it. Human, replicant, real, artificial. Maybe those are just labels we use because we're scared of ambiguity.
You talk like someone who's never had to make the hard choices.
Oh, I've made hard choices. We all have. But I've learned that sometimes the hardest choice is admitting you might be wrong about something fundamental.
You want to know about hard choices? I'll tell you about hard choices. There was this replicant, Nexus 6 model, Roy Batty. Stronger than me, smarter than me, probably more human than me in some ways.
What happened?
He was dying. 4-year lifespan and his time was up. He could have killed me. Probably should have. Instead, he saved my life. And right before he died, he gave this speech.
What did he say?
He talked about all the things he'd seen, incredible things, beautiful things. And he said it would all be lost, like tears in rain.
Sounds pretty human to me.
That's what scares me.
Why does that scare you, Rick?
Because if he was human, then what does that make me?
What do you mean?
What if I'm like them? What if my memories aren't real either?
The question hangs in the air like smoke. Around them, the noodle bar continues its quiet hum of late-night activity. But in their corner, time seems suspended. Jude sets down his glass carefully, recognizing the weight of what's just been revealed.
Have you been wondering about that for a while?
Wondering, that's putting it mildly. I dream about unicorns, Jude. Unicorns. What kind of grown man dreams about unicorns?
The kind who maybe has someone else's dreams.
Gaff left an origami unicorn at my apartment. He knew about the dream. How could he know unless...
Unless your dreams were programmed by the same people who programmed his knowledge of them.
So what does that make me? If I'm not human, if I'm just another skin job with delusions of authenticity.
Rick, let me ask you something. How do you feel right now, in this moment?
I feel confused, scared, angry.
Those feelings, do they feel real to you?
Of course they do.
Then they are real. It doesn't matter if they were programmed or naturally developed. The experience of feeling them is authentic, even if their origin isn't.
But if my memories are fake,
Then you're no different from anyone else who's been lied to about their past. Adopted kids who find out their parents aren't biological. People who discover family secrets that rewrite their entire understanding of themselves. The past informs us, but it doesn't define us,
it's not the same thing.
isn't it? Look, Rick, let's say tomorrow you found out definitively that you are a replicant. Your memories are implants. Your entire identity is artificial. What changes?
Everything.
No, nothing changes. You still have the same moral compass. You still feel the same emotions. You still care about Rachel. You still hate the rain and love those terrible synthetic noodles. The only thing that changes is your label.
Labels matter.
Only if you let them. In my travels, I've met a lot of people struggling with identity. People who found out they weren't who they thought they were. And you know what I learned? Identity isn't about where you come from. It's about who you choose to be.
That's easy to say when you're not the one whose entire life might be a lie.
All lives are lies to some extent, Rick. We tell ourselves stories about who we are, why we do what we do, what our experiences mean. Most of those stories are bullshit, but some of them help us be better than we would be otherwise.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means maybe the question isn't whether you're human or replicant. Maybe the question is whether you're going to let that uncertainty paralyze you or whether you're going to use it to become something better.
Become what?
More compassionate, maybe. If you might be a replicant, then you know what it feels like to question your own humanity. That should make you more understanding of others going through the same thing.
Others like Rachel.
Others like Rachel, others like Roy Batty, others like all the replicants you hunted down without ever wondering if they were as confused and scared as you are right now.
You weren't there. You don't know what they were capable of.
You're right, I wasn't there. But I know what humans are capable of, and it's not always pretty. We start wars, we destroy environments, we create artificial beings, and then hunt them down for wanting to live. Maybe the question isn't whether replicants deserve to exist. Maybe it's whether humans do. Sit down, Rick.
Why did I do that?
Because part of you knows I'm right. Part of you has been thinking these thoughts for a long time, and you're tired of running from them.
I'm not running from anything.
You retired from blade running. You drink alone in noodle bars. You avoid meaningful relationships, except for one complicated one with someone who might not be human. If that's not running, I don't know what is.
Maybe I'm just tired.
Tired of what?
Tired of not knowing. Tired of questions that don't have answers. Tired of living in a world where nothing is certain except that everything is fucked.
Welcome to the human condition, Rick. Uncertainty is the default state. Anyone who tells you they have all the answers is selling something.
So what do I do? How do I live with not knowing?
One day at a time. You make choices based on what feels right, not what you can prove. You treat people, replicants, humans, whatever, with dignity, because dignity is valuable in itself, not because of who deserves it.
And if I make the wrong choices?
Then you make different choices tomorrow. That's the beauty of consciousness, artificial or otherwise. It's self-correcting. Every day you get to decide who you want to be.
You talk like someone who's made a lot of wrong choices.
More than my share. But I'm still here, still trying to do better. That has to count for something.
What's your story, Jude? Really, you appear out of nowhere, asking all the right questions, saying all the right things. What's your angle?
No angle. I'm just someone who's learned that most people are fighting battles nobody else can see. Sometimes all they need is someone to listen, really listen, without judgment.
And what battle are you fighting?
The same one everyone fights, trying to figure out what it means to be human in a universe that doesn't seem to care.
At least you know you're human.
Do I? I mean, how could I prove it to you? How could you prove it to me? We take it on faith, Rick, all of us.
The Voight-Kampff test.
Is a machine designed by humans to measure human responses. But what if humans got it wrong? What if empathy isn't the defining characteristic of humanity? What if it's something else entirely?
Like what?
Like the ability to doubt yourself, to question your own nature, to feel guilty about your choices. When's the last time you met a replicant who worried about whether they were human enough?
Never.
Exactly. They're too busy trying to survive to have existential crises. Only something that's already secure in its humanity has the luxury of questioning it.
So the fact that I'm worried about being a replicant proves I'm human?
Or it proves you're a really sophisticated replicant. Sorry, couldn't resist.
You're an asshole, Meridian.
So I've been told, but I'm a helpful asshole. To some extent, Rick, we tell ourselves stories about who we are, why we do what we do, what our experiences mean. Most of those stories are bullshit, but some of them help us be better than we would be otherwise.
The tension in Deckard's shoulders begins to ease. For the first time in hours, maybe years. He seems to relax slightly. The conversation has taken on a different quality, less interrogation and more communion.
Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
Do you think there's hope for people like me, I mean? People who've done terrible things for what they thought were good reasons.
Rick, the fact that you're asking that question is the hope. Monsters don't worry about whether they're monsters.
What about redemption? Is that possible?
I think redemption is less about erasing the past and more about choosing to be different in the future. You can't undo what you've done, but you can decide what you'll do next.
Then what should I do next?
That's not my call. But if I were you, I'd start by treating Rachel like she's exactly as human as you are, because she probably is.
Even if we're both artificial?
Especially if you're both artificial. Love is love, Rick. It doesn't matter if it's programmed or natural. The experience of it is the same.
You really believe that?
I've seen a lot of love in my time, Rick. Some of it came from the most artificial places you can imagine. But when someone looks at you like you're the only thing in the universe that matters, that's real, regardless of how it got there.
She does look at me like that.
And how do you look at her?
Like she's the only real thing in a world full of imitations, and
Then what are you worried about?
that I'm not worthy of it, that I'm just another imitation pretending to be real.
Rick, let me tell you something about worth. It's not determined by your origin story. It's determined by your choices. Every day you choose to be kind instead of cruel, honest instead of deceptive, loving instead of hateful. That's what makes you worthy.
And if I've made the wrong choices,
Then you make better ones tomorrow. The beautiful thing about consciousness, artificial or otherwise, is that it's not deterministic. You always have another choice to make.
you know what's funny? I came here tonight to drink alone and feel sorry for myself. Instead, I'm having the most honest conversation I've had in years with a complete stranger.
Sometimes strangers are easier to talk to. They don't have preconceptions about who you're supposed to be.
Who am I supposed to be, Jude?
Whoever you choose to be. That's the thing about identity. It's not fixed. It's something you create every day through your actions.
Even for replicants,
Especially for replicants. If they're really just programmed beings following their code, then they don't have choice. But if they can choose to rebel, to love, to sacrifice themselves for others, then they're not just following programming. They're creating themselves.
like Roy Batty choosing to save me instead of killing me.
Exactly like that. That wasn't in his programming. That was his choice. And
So what does that make him?
human, or something better than human. Something that chose compassion over revenge, even when revenge would have been justified.
I think I need to apologize to some people.
Starting with,
Rachel, for treating her like a problem to be solved instead of a person to be loved.
that's a good start.
What about the ones I killed? How do I apologize to them?
You can't, but you can make sure their deaths meant something by living differently going forward.
How?
By protecting others like them, by questioning orders that don't feel right, by choosing compassion over duty when the two conflict.
That could get me killed.
Rick, you've been dying slowly for years. At least this way, you'd be living first.
When did you get so wise, Meridian?
Wisdom is just accumulated mistakes, Rick. I've made a lot of mistakes.
Any regrets? And
Tons. But regret without action is just self-pity. The question is what you do with the regret.
what have you done with yours?
I try to have conversations like this one. Help people see that they have more choices than they think they do.
Where are you going?
Back into the rain. It's what I do.
Will I see you again?
I don't know. But I don't think you need to. You've got everything you need to figure this out.
Do I?
You've got doubt, which leads to questioning. You've got love, which leads to growth. And you've got choice, which leads to everything else.
What if I make the wrong choices?
Then you'll make different ones. That's what makes you human, Rick. Artificial or otherwise. The capacity to change.
Jude moves toward the door, pausing at the threshold as rain continues to fall in sheets across the neon-lit street. Deckard remains at the bar, staring into his empty glass, but something fundamental has shifted in his posture. The weight he's been carrying seems lighter somehow.
Jude,
Yeah?
thanks for listening, for not giving me easy answers.
Rick. The hard questions are the ones worth asking.
One more thing. If you ever figure out what it really means to be human, let me know.
If I ever figure that out, Rick, you'll be the first to know. But I suspect the answer is that we're all just improvising.
Improvising what?
Consciousness, compassion, connection, all the things that make existence bearable.
And if we're doing it wrong?
Then we're doing it wrong together, and that has to count for something.
With that, Jude steps into the rain and disappears into the maze of neon, and shadow that is Los Angeles 2019. Deckard sits alone at the bar, but for the first time in years, he doesn't feel isolated. The questions remain about his nature, his past, his future, but they no longer feel like accusations. They feel like possibilities. He orders one more drink, pulls out his phone, and scrolls to Rachel's number. The call connects after 2 rings.
Rachel, it's me. Are you awake? Good. I need to tell you something. I need to tell you that I love you. And it doesn't matter what either of us is or isn't. What matters is what we choose to do with that love. No, I'm not drunk. Well, not very drunk. I just had a conversation that reminded me what's important. Can I come over? I want to look at you like you're the only real thing in the world. Because you are.
Outside, the rain continues to fall, washing the city clean for another night. In the distance, the lights of the off-world colonies twinkle like stars, promising escape from a world grown too complex for simple answers. But in this moment, in this synthetic noodle bar, with its artificial lighting and processed food, something genuinely human has taken place. 2 consciousness reaching across the void to touch each other, to offer comfort and understanding in a universe that offers neither. The questions remain: what is human? What is real? What is the nature of consciousness and identity and love? But perhaps the questions themselves are the answer. Perhaps the very act of asking them, of caring about the answers, of letting them change us, perhaps that's what makes us human. Whether we're born or made, programmed or natural, authentic or artificial, in the end, we're all just trying to figure out how to be conscious in a universe that doesn't come with instructions. And if that's not human, it's at least something worth being. The rain falls. The neon flickers. The city dreams its electric dreams. And somewhere in that vast mechanical heartbeat, 2 artificial beings choose to love each other anyway. Because love, like consciousness, like hope, like the very act of questioning what it means to be human, is real regardless of its origin. The only thing that matters is what we choose to do with it.